My Hero Academia has its fair share of absolute violent moments, but like any Shonen Jump manga, when receiving an anime adaptation, a lot of the extremely violent and more gruesome moments are heavily censored, and this is mainly done to appeal to a much larger and younger audience. So things like blood will get toned down, or even missing body parts won't be all that missing or blacked out to not show anything too crazy, which My Hero Academia can be a little weird when it comes to censorship like this, because how are you going to show me the top of a little girl's head on the ground but not show me fingers that have been removed from the body? Same season, by the way. For me, censorship like this isn't a big deal, but come on. So for this video, I'll be doing a comparison between the manga and anime, listing off 10 scenes from the My Hero Academia anime that were censored due to how violent it was in the manga. To start things off, we have our first scene taking place within the forest training camp arc, when Dabi's double is defeated by Aizawa. In the manga, not only does the double bleed from its nose, but when the double crumbles away and turns into goop, the flesh crumbles off of his face, showing his teeth underneath. In the anime, there really isn't that much blood, nor does the flesh crumble off of Dabi's face. Instead, he just turns into goop, which I guess Horikoshi was a fan of, because twice doubles don't really crumble away anymore after this moment. They just turn to goop, but they do still bleed. At number 2, during the Overhaul arc, Rappa, when explaining to Fat Gum on how he ended up joining the Shiei Hasaikai, we see that when Overhaul went to recruit Rappa in the underground ring match to decide whether or not Rappa will join the Yakuza, we see that Overhaul wins the match by touching Rappa and removing the top half of his body. This, of course, is censored in the anime, with it being a blacked out silhouette, while in the manga, it's completely uncensored, which is surprising because earlier in the season, Overhaul kills Magni in the same way, and it isn't censored in the slightest. Also in the Overhaul arc, at number 3, when Overhaul was originally doing research on Aries' quirk to find out what exactly her mutated quirk was, we see the rats used to test Aries' quirk had rewinded back to being babies, then to nothing. In the manga, however, we see that a rat had died after turning into a fetus, as blood surrounded the fetus. It was actually a really cool way to show the dark side of quirks being manifested at such a young age, and how a young girl like Aries would view her extremely powerful quirk as more of a curse than a gift. I will give the anime credit though for being a little more graphic than the manga in the scene following this, showing how Aries' body would try and put itself together after being cut open by Overhaul, which we don't see at all in the manga. For number 4, we head straight to the My Villain Academia arc. This scene takes place right after Kaminari turns on the news, showing Detnaret had entered into the hero support business. Here, after watching a commercial featuring Redestro promoting Detnaret's products, we see Redestro trying to ease his employee Miyashita into the idea of the Meta Liberation Army through a book. Miyashita notes how he read the Meta Liberation Army book, but couldn't help but picture the MLA commander, Destro, as just a ranting criminal who committed violent acts and getting people caught up in them. This greatly upsets Redestro, and he begins to question Miyashita on whether or not he has a family or a significant other. As Miyashita replies no, Redestro wraps his arms around Miyashita's neck and states how it was such a shame that they couldn't see eye to eye on the subject. Miyashita struggles and has his neck broken by Redestro as he sheds a tear over the death of Miyashita. Now, some of you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but that's because this never made it into the anime. To say the least, Bones made a lot of weird decisions during season 5's production. Don't worry, we will be seeing a lot more from season 5 in this video, but this moment can only be read in the manga. And it was an awesome and violent way to introduce a brand new villain. At number 5, in the same arc, Redestro calls the League of Villains through Giran's phone, confronting them and telling them to check the news. The League then witnessed that at each location the League have caused trouble at, a severed finger had been discovered. The fingers, of course, coming from Giran himself, as he's been captured by the Meta Liberation Army. In the anime, none of the fingers are shown at their respective locations, like how it is in in the manga, and when it's shown that the fingers form the Meta Liberation hand sign, the fingers in the anime are just silhouettes, while in the manga we see each finger from each location coming together forming the sign. Also in the My Villain Academia arc at number 6, when Toga transforms into Ochako and uses zero gravity on Curious, after releasing zero gravity, Curious and a bunch of MLA members plummet to the ground and die upon impact as a lot of blood splatters everywhere. In the anime, we don't actually get to see the bodies make contact with the ground as Toga is facing away from the crime, so we only see the blood rise up behind her. But in the manga, we actually see the bodies hit the ground as she looks straight at them. Moments after this, we have number 7, when Shigaraki's quirk begins to evolve as he starts unlocking his memories. He goes up against a crowd of MLA members and in his extremely tired state grabs the face of one of the members and decays through the entire crowd, even decaying people who he didn't make contact with. It's a pretty cool scene that is a lot more graphic in the manga, as when he grabs onto the MLA member's face, we get an awesome panel showing Shigaraki's hand decaying through the man's entire head. The next scene, coming at number 8, is once again from the My Villain Academia arc in the beginning of the Shigaraki vs Redestro fight. When Shigaraki goes and attacks Redestro by decaying the ground, Redestro counters by jumping into the air and using his stress to punch the ground right in front of Shigaraki. Now, in the anime, we get this extremely goofy scene where Shigaraki is sent flying from the attack and is in the air for what feels like 5 minutes. Redestro will then grab Shigaraki by the hand and crush it when talking to Shigaraki about his convictions and ideals, leaving Shigaraki only capable of using 2 fingers on that hand. In the manga, this entire scene is extremely graphic, as after Redestro counters, we see that the attack had left Shigaraki with less than half of his hand, with the only thing remaining being his 2 fingers. Redestro follows this up by grabbing Shigaraki's hand and proceeding to crush that same hand with only 2 fingers, causing Shigaraki immense pain and a lot of blood to come out. This is also why later in the anime he ends up having a prosthetic, so if you ever wondered why the anime felt the need to replace the majority of his hand when his hand seemed to be perfectly fine, just broken, well, now you know why. Continuing on the trend of everything just getting sniped from the My Villain Academia arc, we have number 9, the entire scene of Shigaraki decaying his family during his backstory. Now, for the most part, this entire scene is mostly toned down when it comes to the amount of blood that is actually seen, like how when his mom gets decayed right in front of him, her body just crumbles and falls to pieces in the anime. In the manga, when she falls into pieces, there is a lot of blood. Hana is on the same boat, since when she starts decaying, you can see blood coming out of the cracks, and the same goes for Shigaraki's dog Mon. The anime tends to do this thing where, in order to tone down the violent nature of Shigaraki's quirk, they make it so that when Shigaraki uses decay on a person, they sort of cremate and crumble into ash, hence there being no blood, which is what we see happen to Mon, his sister, and his mom in the anime. But actually, what's really going on is that they just straight up crumble to pieces, blood and all. And it's why in the anime his dog and sister are a pile of blood and body parts after we had just seen them crumble into ash. Finally, at number 10, we have the last My Villain Academia arc scene, as well as the last scene for the video, taking place at the end of the Shigaraki vs Redestro fight. As Shigaraki fully undergoes his quirk evolution and experiences true freedom, he destroys Deika City with Decay, winning the battle against Redestro. Redestro, trying to avoid his attack, gets thrown off of Claustro, making his feet touch the ground. He is then forced to cut off his own legs, or else his entire body would be decayed. While it's made clear in the anime that he does cut off his own legs, in the manga, you actually see Redestro cut off his legs, leaving a bunch of blood splattered on the ground and the armor he used to cut off his legs, and even pieces of his decayed leg being left on the ground. Whereas in the anime, there is no leg pieces or blood anywhere to be found. Now, there are are a lot more scenes in My Hero Academia that are a lot more brutal, violent, and gruesome in the manga than in the anime adaptation. And with us going as far as the My Villain Academia arc, there is still a whole other half of My Hero Academia to go over. But for now, these were 10 scenes in My Hero Academia that were more violent in the manga than in the anime. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on this list of scenes from the anime. Were there any that I missed leading up to the My Villain Academia arc? Let me know everything in the comment section below. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you are new to the Kidoroki channel and you want to see more My Hero Academia content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, and remember to stay plus ultra, and I'll see you all in the next one.